Hey all, welcome back. We are winding up the first week of the class so far, and I think things have been going fantastic. I've been reading over the annotations you guys are doing on Perusall, and they look absolutely great. You guys are really actively getting in there and chewing on these texts, which is precisely what I want you to do. So that's really exciting, and I'm excited to keep using that tool as we go forward. But I did want to, at this point, um, offer up some thoughts or explanations about how it is that I do my grading on Perusall. I'm sure that some of you got some questions about this, so I want to just talk for a couple minutes here about grading specifically on Perusall, and then maybe a few comments about grading in the course as a whole. So let me just show you. I'm going to send you guys an email, or I'm going to post this on Blackboard, the text for this as well, so you'll be able to look back at the text anytime you want. But here's how my grading works on Perusall. Okay, I'm just going to go through this real quickly. You get once you finish an assignment, and I grade it, you get a score from 0 to 3 on that assignment. So we did 3 assignments this week, right? One for the Feather Pillow, one for Little Red Riding Hood, one for the Company of the Wolves. Each one of those will get a score ranging from 0 to 3. And you can see here, right, 0 means it's deficient. You haven't done what you needed to do to get any credit for it. 1 means you did something, but not very much. It's below expectations. A 2 means you did it, did a good solid job. You met expectations on that assignment. And then 3 means you did something to exceed expectations. Some really good comments. And so you exceeded what was expected there. Okay, so that's it, 0 through 3 on each assignment. Okay, well, how do I decide what you get? I factor in a number of different criteria when I'm thinking or when I'm grading the annotations. First and foremost, the biggest, most important thing is I'm looking for thoughtful comments and or questions that kind of add to the class discussion, and that are spread throughout the entire reading. Right? If you put a comment on the first page and that's it, that's not considered a successful engagement with the text. Okay, but I'm looking for thoughtful comments and questions. Okay, and this might be a little bit tricky here because there's a distinction to be made. Those comments that you make get a score of 0 to 2. Basically, 0 means it's below expectations, 1 it meets, and 2 exceeds. So the individual comments that you make in the comment bubbles, those get scored 0 to 2, just sort of very quickly, 0, 1, 2. But that's a little bit different than the score for the overall assignment, which goes from 0 to 3, and that's the points for your grade, your final grade. Okay, so you might do a comment that gets a score of a 1. You might do another comment that gets a score of a 2, et cetera, et cetera. But then these all I add all these up to get that final score. Okay, so thoughtful comments is the big thing, but then I also look for people to answer questions from other students so I can see that you're engaging with them, and to occasionally upvote interesting or helpful comments or questions that other people do, right? This is me seeing that you're engaged. And I'll just mention a couple other things. Experience has taught me that students generally get higher scores when they do a couple of things. When they start the reading early, instead of like 15 minutes before the deadline where they have to burn through it. The second thing, it's often really helpful to break the reading into chunks instead of trying to do it all at once. And then, obviously you want to read the whole assignment because that's going to allow you to make smarter, more interesting comments and, annotations. Okay, so those are 3 things that I think have really helped. In the email, I'm not going to read these in their entirety right now, but I want you to take a look at them in the email. These are just an example, a couple examples of I think really good annotations that people posted for the Feather Pillow. And there were lots of other ones. There were lots of really good annotations here. I just had to grab a couple that I thought would provide sort of some sense of what we're looking for with a thoughtful post, a thoughtful comment. Okay, so those will be in the email. And then I wanted to add one other thing. The question of late assignments and partial credit. Okay, as you guys know, the due date for the annotations is midnight on Tuesday or midnight on Thursday. Right, this week we just had the kind of one real class, so it was midnight on Thursday. So those are the deadlines: midnight Tuesday, midnight Thursday. But if for whatever reason you submit your assignment a little after the deadline, you will earn some partial credit. Here's how this is going to work. You will have until noon on Wednesday for that Tuesday assignment, okay? And then noon on Friday for that Thursday assignment. So what that does is it's due at midnight, but I give you till noon the next day, 12 hours, okay, to get in a late assignment. But your credit for the assignment will decrease over that period of time, over that 12 hours. So if you get it in at the deadline, by midnight, you get full 100% credit for it. I mean, you get 100% of whatever you would have scored. But then 6 hours later, halfway through that 12-hour thing, you'll get half credit. So it goes down, it decreases. And as I say, if you're a math major, it decreases in a linear fashion, in a straight line. It goes from 100% of the score you earned at midnight down to 0% at noon the next day. So yeah, that's it. That's how the partial credit will work. It gradually decreases over that time. Okay? And then after that time, you can't turn in the annotation. Okay. I think that's it in terms of perusal. Okay, and how that works. Then I wanted to say just a couple of things, I guess, more broadly. So this week on Perusall, we did the short story assignments. So we had the entire text of the story in Perusall. Next week we're reading a novel, right? We're reading Neil Gaiman's Coraline, and I'm not putting the whole novel up on there. We could do that actually, sort of. You guys would have to pay to have Perusall put that up, and I don't want to do that because you'd be paying twice for the book. And anyway, it's too much to do. We can't annotate a 160-page novel online. So what I will be doing is I'm going to be posting shorter selections from Coraline, juicy parts of the text, juicy segments of the text that I want you guys to get in and annotate and do the same thing that we did this week. But those will be smaller chunks, several pages, etc. But here's what I want to say about that in terms of grades. You're going to need to read the whole book, obviously. We're going to be doing 6 novels in this class, and you're going to need to read the entirety of all 6 of those novels. It would be possible, I suppose, to just respond to the smaller segments that I post on Perusall. Here's the problem with that. Your comments are going to be crappy if you do that, because you're not going to understand what's going on in the larger book. So you're going to get a lower score as a result of that. And the other thing is that the midterm and the final exam will be on the entire book. And I guarantee I'll be asking you some stuff about the books that's not posted in the Perusall chunks, okay? All of which is to say, make sure you read the entire novel and not just the smaller pieces that appear on Perusall. I don't know if it's Perusall or Perusall. I'm going to say Perusall. Okay, I think that was about all I had to say about that. Is there one more thing I wanted to mention in terms of grades? The Perusall, the midterm, and the final. We'll be talking about this 1-minute horror film, which I'm super excited about. We'll be talking about that in the next little while, and that'll be part of the final grade too. Okay. All right, I think that's all I wanted to say about grades. Okay, I'm done.